Okay. All right, buddy. It's me, Francisco, for Sports Goofs number 211. Here with Charles. Andrew's not here for today, so it's just the duo once again. Going to be geeking out, talking about stuff. And it might be a shorter show since we're starting late again, but kind of keeps it nice and condensed and concise for the most part for us. So how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Just trying to gear up for some late goodbyes. And I've just been. I was supposed to. This will over the top. I was supposed to have my last court hearing ever as a litigator until I go
Mm.
back to litigation yesterday, and I was stuck behind an hour and a half hearing that did not resolve. And not to go into the details of those case, but it's like when you kind of have an agreement or that your case is going to be resolved relatively shortly on a continuance, but you're already in the middle of a hearing and you can just see where it's going. And then, your clients might be like, oh, this is 8 years of just experience. I'm like, do we have to stay here? I'm like, yeah, because if you just leave without us being here, it's over. But it does give you perspective. So I've been nostalgic. I've been doing the greatest hits of the little shenanigans I've had for the last 8 years. I'm just trying to round up and see some coworkers before I hand out. Some of them are, hey, like one of them's bringing me pupusas tomorrow. It's gonna be her, me, and my paralegal. The other one's busting my chops. Oh, I was told you were gonna see me, but hey, you're right there. I'm like, all right,
Mm.
guys, everybody's a critic. Everybody's a critic. I'm still a one man show doing legal stuff, but it's fun. You're hyping yourself up on stuff. It's interesting. I know you didn't feel that way when you left jobs, but I've left most of my jobs amicably. So it creates a new thing. And you know what I realized what it is? Life, art imitates life. And it reminds me of clip shows from the old
Yeah.
80s or 90s. And the reason why I bring that up is because I've been falling asleep lately to either Family Guy, American Dad, Cleveland Show, or The Simpsons, which they have. The Simpsons had I think two, maybe three clip shows. So I'm like, okay, because what happens, guys, wherever you work or as things go on in life, what really is bad is such a momentary thing because you go there in a longer totality, unless you're just working at a place for 6 months or a year, right? Then everything's kind of good when it outweighs, and that's what you kind of focus on. And Twitter, because it's hacked, right? They're just like Amazon; they know what's in your brain.
Mm.
Was giving me clips from The Simpsons, and one of the things that stood out was when Bart was doing fake hymns for the church, and it was Iron Butterflies in La Garda de Vida, but then the whole thing was based off in La Garda de Vida, baby. So it just made me laugh. So I'm good. I'm kind of trying to also we talk about greatest hits, and for people who don't know, I cover four counties, so I'm on the road. Soon I'll be more on the road, but I'm trying to. Oh, I got fifth place. Cool. I'm on Mario Kart today. I was gonna
Mm.
do Pokemon, but since I knew it was a two-man show, I'm my attention needed to be more in there. So I've been trying to do the greatest hits of food places as well. That might be one of my
Oh.
non-sponsors that we went to, and I think I got one left because I live in Stewart, so that doesn't
Mm.
mean anything to me. I can go to those places and get my taco shack and stuff, so nothing crazy. But it's the Fort Pierce or Vero era that I'm just kind of be oh, I gotta go get some stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Like the like if you had to go there in the future, you'd have to go out of your way now to actually do it.
Correct. I can't go 50 minutes for chicken wings,
Like
guys.
you,
I know.
I mean, I feel like you would. I feel like you
I
would. I
have
feel like you like that. You know what? Saturday, it's this is it. This is what I'm doing.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but the thing is, so, what you guys need to understand, some places I get chicken or Mexican food at, they're not. You have to eat in
I
your
don't mind going
car.
through a deep dive of all those places on the big screen, on the video
Yeah,
version.
yeah,
I mean, we
yeah, right.
can. I don't know what
Well,
game
they've
shows
been
are right now, but
non-sponsors before.
yeah.
They've been non-sponsors before, but as I say to everybody, I'm like, what? I don't eat in my car. We talked about this on the show, and Andrew thought I was a psychopath, and you thought I was a psychopath. But we're talking about places I get real sloppy at, food
Mm.
wise, fats. Could you imagine me eating chicken and waffles in my car, or JoJo's? But
Oh,
that's just kind of been the trend.
speaking of, I went to La Tapatia before I came
Okay.
here to get some stuff so I can cook my dinner. I just had eggs and cheese, but I love the Oaxaca cheese that they have there. So I walked in and I saw that they were advertising chicken wings. Like they're making chicken wings at this, Latin bodega place. With like
I mean,
with like
some words.
with like American flags and all over the advertising and stuff. I'm like, I think these are for like the ICE agents to kind of keep us cool. I think that's what the purpose of that was for. Yeah, because I can't see why they would be selling chicken wings.
Hispanics can't make chicken wings, and that's not even like an assault I made on Cuba. Every time there was an episode.
Well, Cubans can't make pizza, I know that. So.
Well, and they sure as fuck one cannot make chicken. I mean, maybe you get a few lucky ones who kind of realize that you can kind of play around, but like, liras de pollo, you ever try it? Not crazy about it. And then the ones I've had, if they ain't got a deep fryer, all right, we got to do this. What is it, Learn a Goof, or we had one like the cultural one. What was the old one?
I got the screen on it. Yeah, uncultured swine. Well, that was mainly
uncultured swine.
That was us me looking at international sports teams, but yeah, we can repurpose it.
Well, we're just repurposing as a fandom show, everybody. So every time I lived in Miami for 3.5 years, I dated Cubans, I dated Dominican Cubans, I did a mix, right? And then you go out and you go to places, and I lived on my own, and that first year I'm just trying some stuff and going from there, yada 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 yada. Anytime I went to the barbecue, anytime we went out to eat, because chicken wings are always kind of like a good setup as an appetizer. At that time, the price of it, you might as well just order as an appetizer and eat something else. And that's if you were at not BJ's Brew House, but like, if you were anywhere in Dolphin Mall, right? Or anywhere around that strip, right? If you tried a pizza joint from there. Every time I had tried their liras de pollo. For white people, it's chicken wings, right? And you can't just say chicken wings. You can write it as just chicken wings, man. Like, we know what it is, going from there. It was there. It's not like deep fried, right? It's kind of this weird, and maybe you can agree. Oh, goddamn, I'm the last two. You agree with me? It's as if they grilled it on a skillet, or maybe they're little like barbecue equivalent on like two sides, and you see like this weird uneven.
It's like when they're
brown line.
Yeah, you're making like they're like making. It's like they were making like a beefsteak or whatever. Yeah, like it was pan fried. It was pan fried.
Yeah, and I'm like, there should be 3 lines. It's not like I've literally seen it where there is one golden brown crusted side, and it's not even the entire side. It's just for whatever reason, it's like the top of the wing, right? The meaty part of a corner of a wing, not like even the whole thing. And then you eat it, and then you've either got 2 kinds. 50 place. You've either got the driest thing you've ever had, and you went looking for some sauce, and on my soul, I remember this time. I think it was at Padrino's, down by. Do they do chicken wing? It was one of those. And if I'm calling names, I'm remembering. Or Sergio's. And if I'm calling names, y'all better be on it. I don't think it was Padrino's, but I'm like, maybe it was all. But I'm like, all right, I need some sauce on this, and I look around, and what do they have, man? You think they got hot sauce like that goes on a chicken wing, the wet kind of rub? Motherfucker, 3. It's Tapatía, or it's Valentina, or Cholula. And I'm like, oh man, no. I can't go from there. Or it is the wettest chicken wing on the inside that tells me it was defrosted, nuked by a defrost, and then quickly cooked. Now, I don't know if you've had that same experience, but yeah, that has been
a rush of ice water coming through you
when you bite into it. Yeah, and then some of them will have the entire chicken wing joint, which I respect, man. But oh no, man, oh no, just can't. And that's why I learned keep it to commercial stuff. Do Buffalo Wild Wings, do Duffy's, do Flanagan's, and it all kind of tastes the same. And I know what you guys are saying. Well, Charles, you sure know that. I was 23. I just moved down to a place that I thought was the equivalent of like the closest thing I was going to get to New York and Florida. I want you to understand that before that, I lived in Palm Beach County for like 5 years. Martin for like 3 and the Palm Beach County for like, the 3. So it was like, yeah, I'll give you a combined 6 of them in between. And I have Polk County, Florida. So like, I talk a lot of crap about Polk County, but I learned what double deep fried chicken wings were.
Yeah.
When you bite into that crunch, when it's not the kernel, even when the church's chicken is pretty decent, or you're just going to the convenience stores that sell you chicken.
Mm.
So I became a snob. But there is a difference. I wish Andrew was here for this, because I feel like he would agree with me. There is a difference between getting hot wings or buffalo wings. I think your good buddy, Roy, right? He's the one who gave the whole thing on it, on like hot sauce and all that.
I mean, but Roy enters like competitions.
Yeah.
You know.
But this is for everybody, and
Yeah.
you always need to learn life. But there's a difference between hot sauce and buffalo sauce versus fried chicken. And I need people to understand that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the fried chicken fight would happen in Publix in Kendall or on Sweetwater. I'm shooting shots here.
Yeah.
That I'm like, this ain't what? I thought it was all and when you realize not everything coming from the factory. But that was my experience doing chicken wings. We're food show today, everybody. In Miami. And just anything chicken. I'm like, yeah, so what was it? Latin American cuisine. Remember that one? Off by maybe a little bit by 8th.
Yeah.
That's
They have like 5 of them. But yeah.
Yeah.
They have like they have like a hashtag 2, hashtag 3, Latin America 2000 or whatever. Yeah.
So for anybody who wants to come down to
that's
Florida,
that's a very Miami reference.
Yeah, right. If anybody wants to come down to Florida and go to Miami, I think Latin American cuisine is actually a pinnacle of South Florida, of Miami at least. I can't say like Flanagan's because it's actually
I can't say
it's
a bad experience.
It's a fine experience when it's 2 a.m. and you need something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they know how to make chicken. I die on that hill.
Yeah.
But like the price though, because people would be like, "Oh, La Carreta, you need to go there. You need to go to El Molino or something like that." I'm like, no. Not American cuisine. You're gonna get like this bed of rice that has the beans on there, right? Because it's like a diner that just has extra room. And La Carreta, the one time I went, I was like,
yeah.
If I was trying to pick up like 20-year-olds, sure, but wasn't worth it. I still remember. I was joking because I went to a statewide training with my Miami people, and I'm gonna be in Miami a little bit more now. But I was like, is Love Is Blind still around? Because that's where Francisco and I had to go to one time.
Oh,
or
yeah.
like Carib's get together, and it was just so weird. I like look at everybody. I'm like, and I love and hate half the people who are there as it is, and I'm just like, am I supposed to do drugs here or something? But yeah, we're just giving you Miami history, guys. But Latin American cuisine can make that. So I would say it's Miami staple. I'll give you Flanagan's because they open 5 morning. And I think they're still in Miami as well, but they are more of a other South Florida staple. Smoky Bones, but you want to avoid Smoky Bones because once it hits like 11:30 at night, there was like 3 white guys just snorting coke right there in front of you, and I'm like, I just have to pee. Can you just move, please? But yeah, Latin American cuisine, you guys get a little bit of shout out from Pure Memory as being a place that actually knows how to make chicken. And why does chicken matter? Because it's kind of like one of the healthier meats you can eat, right? And it is kind of versatile because like with steak and stuff like that, then it gets complicated. I got blast.
I got Latin Cafe up here right now. That's what it is.
Ooh, yeah. But like that's the thing too. Cubans, what I loved about Miami, they always have postres available.
True.
Or even like the empanada. So you know what? I can have a dinner or a lunch. I'm just going tres empanadas and everything else I want. So we're not gonna find that. I love you, Cafe Chantilly, to this day. Live right by there. But man, getting chicken wings, and you wanted it. That was the problem living there, where you had a hankering. Yeah, I see on the sign. I'm just getting this deja vu. You had a hankering for certain foods, right? Always had a hankering. And I can't, not everybody could be por la plancha, like every single day, right? Or Palacios de los Jugos, where I'm like, yeah, hi, it's me again. Like, because they didn't do bone-in chicken. You know what I mean? It was like, you get this chicken tenderloin and go from there, and you want it. And like, pork's usually okay, but they rival Colombian sometimes on how much fat they put on a pork. I appreciate that. I respect that. You have never been around me when I have chicharrones right in front of me. I'm like, brother, I'm sorry. Like, my name's about to become Carlos right here. But
It's
yeah,
like that
because the thing is,
episode of South Park where Butters goes, he's
yep,
Hawaiian. He goes Hawaii.
yep, yep. That's really what happens. And the problem is like when you're talking about the steaks, there's only two kinds of steaks that you're getting, man. You're getting like a skirt steak, or you're getting a big old flank, and that's it. Or ropa vieja. And I'm not a ropa vieja guy. I can appreciate
Really?
it now as I get
Oh,
older. My sister loves it.
I
But
love it. Yes.
so here's my fight with ropa vieja. I think it's good. I think it's a little bit sweet. I think it's taste. But then when I look at the money I paid, and it's just a smaller
You
thing,
look at
I
the
think
cost benefit.
yeah, it's an optics thing, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, rice is inexpensive no matter what.
Yeah, that's why
That's
they
why
give
you
you
never.
tons of it.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm
You'll go
like,
back with half a gallon full of it.
yeah, I paid like
Half a
$23
pound.
worth of ropa vieja, and I'm like, you know, like you just resign yourself because you're getting more quality of the sauce. You're getting more quality. It's really just burrito sauce. I don't care what anyone says, but it is. It's the concept broth or whatever they call it. But you're getting like good quality there. But I'm like, I need to like at least have the idea of a leftover. It makes me feel good. But that is my time eating in food Miami because it was like there were certain things you were craving, mostly like Southern food, right? I'm not saying chicken wings is a Southern food, but kind of can be a little bit. You know what I mean? Kind of can be. Just because you deep fry the entire fish, Palacios Tubos, does not mean it's catfish. You know what I'm saying? But the food isn't bad. I actually just avoid Italian food though in Miami for obvious reasons because they just jack up that stuff. Like when we went to Limoncello and stuff like that, I'm like, what is this for pizza? Or when I went, like Boca's is okay, but Boca's is like a hybrid. It's like a Cuban Italian place. I've talked to you about it. I've said on the show. I've said you. But it is kind of like a weird culture. But I need diversity. And when it comes to chicken wings, brother, I'm just disgusting with it sometimes. And what I've learned too is just stick to Wingstop or something. But well, yeah, that's why I said just stick to Wingstop. You know what I mean? Like it isn't like this is the greatest place ever.
I do. Yeah, man, I've never left Wingstop. The few times that I've actually ordered them with any sort of like that was a good decision.
It's because when you get the bundle, it's like better. That you gotta look at costing this. But you know what is good, and I didn't mention it because we were off the show. Wings in Weston, went there, stellar, like really good. Pricing a little bit higher than the price, but good because Bruce Room died. So I was like, all right, where can I go find stuff if I'm in South Florida? And then we tried that, and that was really good. And then the other one was Frank G's Wings and Things, but it was too pricey. And the thing is, I respect it was too pricey. And don't ever, I'm sorry, I have to say it, don't ever go to Wings Plus because there's wing stops like that because I'm getting like infant chicken wings in size, like the small legs and stuff. I mean, no, if I'm dropping 45 to entertain, and I'm getting like baby chicken legs, I'm about to put somebody in the ground. What is this?
I'm looking at Wings in Weston right now.
It's good. It was like the hot lemon pepper. I was like, yeah, because lemon pepper's a weird flavor. I've learned to like it, but I don't love it. But I can want to switch it from just doing hot or buffalo, and we all decided because this was like 3 seasons ago about the whole buffalo thing. It's hot with butter. That's it. You just want it for the flavor, but not the heat. Whatever. Live your life, Kings. When I hear. The easiest thing to do. This is what I love when we're off the rails because I love to talk about food and give my opinion on it. Yeah. I know you do too. The thing about chicken wings, if you really just want chicken wings and you want the flavor, do yourself a favor, save $10. Just get the chicken tenders tossed in it or dip it if you want and just get fries. I understand you're getting more succulent meat from the bone. The flavoring kind of hits a little bit better. But at the end of the day, chicken tenders are almost the safest bet if you get them tossed, if you look at the cost convenience. I have to just do it for my people there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Miami, you got to pick some stuff for me.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Man, where did this conversation even go to? I don't even remember.
We were talking about. What is your what? Prove me wrong. You live in Miami for like 11 years. What is your thoughts on the concept of hot wings in Miami? Because of
I just don't. I don't associate Latin people with wings.
We just can't do it, man.
I don't. I'm sure there's someone that our
mastered a recipe.
Name, like even our Mexican meat master. out in Tennessee,
Hmm.
I've never seen him actually do anything with wings. It's always some sort of beef or pork of some sort. You
It's
know.
like a natural aversion. Can't just do it.
Well, I
And I
mean,
won't even. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna try.
yeah. So I just I don't see it. So, um, yeah, it's just one of the things I was just surprised when I walked in. I was like, holy, okay, wings, wings.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, they have a deal and stuff, but all right, let's see. As far as everything, well, I've angered the NHL world again.
He has. Follow him
Uh,
on the Twitter. Charles the True, Dan Frijoles, FJOJR, sports_goofs, and I just get ran over Mario Kart all the time. And then Panthers historian and Marlins historian, which
hmm.
might be the bandwagon to jump on, guys. I think they've won like 10 of their last 14.
I did
So
the
be
Marlins
interesting.
are they've won like the last 4 or 5 series of games that they've
Jump
played.
on the bandwagon now,
They're
guys.
like 5 games
You,
under 500, which is
yeah.
a surprise. If they finish that way, it would be like it'd be like 15 games better than anything anybody expected, which in
Mhm.
baseball matters.
Yeah.
Um, and as
You,
far
you
as
guys just can't dick ride the Dodgers and the Mets this season. Seven,
yeah,
eight, yeah,
yeah,
eight.
or the Phillies,
Or the
yeah.
Phillies.
Uh, and yeah, I mean it's been well, I mean that's baseball, but as far as the hockey world is concerned, just throughout it's the off season, and it's another summer of petty, as well, because
Hmm.
with back-to-back Stanley Cup championships, I'm feeling myself a little bit.
Hmm.
That's for sure,
As you should.
and I feel really good about stating some things that I feel outright. Uh, I feel like my opinions I can state out there, and I'm gonna not only have the I guess the gumption to back it up, and it's mainly because I can now with 2 Stanley Cup championships and 10 years of doing this, I guess,
Hmm.
with the
Yeah.
Panthers, I'm like I've earned myself enough at the table
Are you referencing that tweet?
of hockey history that I can make certain opinions and feel like that opinion is slightly more valid than most other people. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm
Simon,
feeling
Mario
myself.
Kart is ruthless. I was in fourth and I got last place.
Yeah,
Oof,
I know.
bucks.
I know. It's yeah. The knockout tour is. I really do like the knockout tour. I really like the setup for it. But yeah, yeah. You have to strategically. I mean, it ebbs and flows, but you just got to strategically race so that way you're not really going for the win early because that can actually screw you over. Anybody who's out there trying to stay in first at the beginning of a knockout tour should really just kind of hang around the middle third. That way you can recover with enough stuff, but as long as you can, because I think most of the people down below can be less skilled, but as you get better, you're gonna fight more skilled people. So
Well,
it's
the
a double-edged
issue
sword.
is that I'm on regular, and so like getting those last places really drop your level a
Mm.
little bit more.
I
But
do
like
think
if
they need
I'm
more options at this point, though,
they do,
for
they
the game itself. First off, they don't have a good battle mode. They kind of just copied and pasted what they did with Mario Kart 8, the first go around on the Wii U, where they just took the tracks and was like, let's just make the track the battlefield, which is bad. That's the
yeah.
reason why they made actual battlefields in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch. So I feel like they really do need to kind of. There's a big enough world there where they can plop in some DLC for some things. I don't know if they will. I would hope so. I think there's some characters that can be fleshed out. Maybe Donkey Kong gets some stuff because based on his game that recent released. But I think Mario Kart 8. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've got all the trophies and everything else, and I don't really do time trial. It's not really my thing with racing games. And I think now I'm ready for okay a year of this, and then next year I'm hoping they'll announce some sort of DLC or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just kind of keep it to the competition. As if you're a person who plays like online, it's going to have longevity. It's going to have um,
Yeah,
sustainability.
yeah,
So I will, like that's fine. I mean, like I popped in 25 since I got it, and that's a lot. And then, of course, I am apparently the greatest boss ever with my gift to my paralegal.
Yes, indeed.
You know, so long story short, I bought him a Switch. I've worked with him for 6.5 years, and I feel bad for the people who actually just want a Switch and maybe they can afford one, but they can't just seem to get it for whatever reason. It seems to be becoming now more prevalent. I've been able to procure 3.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Did I pay for this one? Yeah, but it was his Switch, not mine. And I sent Francisco and Andrew the video, and like the best line was like, "I can't accept this. Guess I'm going to. I'm going to." And I created a monster. I created a monster because the same night he orders Bonanza, Mario Wonder, and then he buys the Pro Controller.
Yeah.
And when I brought it to the job, I didn't have the Pro Controller then, so he just did it on his own volition.
Yeah.
And like he was like, "I'm staying up till like 12:30 each day. I'm tired." I'm like, "Yeah, I understand." But now you could do. And explain to him that he could just put his Joy-Cons from Switch 1 on there, the backup stuff, to play with him, his wife, and then the kids. It's like his kids are older too.
I love the comment. It's like the text line. Yeah, somebody like wrote, "Oh, it's you can play with the kids," and he's like, "Fuck them kids."
Yeah, that's exactly.
His own children.
That's like
that's for me.
That's 6 years worth of running jokes that we have on that. When I talk about I'm like, he took his kids to Superman. I'm like, you took your kids to the movie? He's like, what? Because he brings up a good point. Kids are expensive. That's why Francisco and I don't have children, because I'm like, I'm on everything, right? But we don't want kids. Or I don't. I won't speak for you. But it's like that because they're expensive, man. What do you mean you're hungry? You just ate 7 minutes ago. And I realized I became that like cartoon parent. But yeah, so he has that, and now that he has like Mario Kart, I know I'll kind of be like. So that's the whole point. It has sustainability, but you do have a good point where if you inhaled it the way that you inhaled a lot more than I did, but I knew I had to be smart with it. Right? I knew how to be smart with it. But if I inhaled it like you did, at some point the allure might lose itself. And you do play competitively online, but here's the thing: you play competitively online with anything. So there might be like flavor of the week kind of stuff. And then the free roam is neat, but I think where they missed an opportunity on it, and maybe I'm wrong because I didn't read it, but inability to have free roam with multiple people kind of like, hurts it. Just my opinion.
I mean, they you can free roam, but it's so limited to the point where it's not really that viable. Well, you can like the most that you can do, because I did it with my nephew. Yeah. Because he wanted to do it, is you can run around, you can take photos and stuff like that, and you collect the panels that are at the race courses and stuff. And
I was in first right before the lap, and everybody just pegged me, and I got 8th. I hate this game.
So yes, go ahead. You get the panels that are laid around all the race courses, and there's about 5, except for Crown City, which has 10 of them. And that's what you do. You go and you do that. But I think did I get all of them? I think I got all of them.
Yeah, you said you got, but that's like 300. So it's like that's like 10 hours of work.
Yeah, and so there's that, and then you have the P block challenges, and then you do those, but. I've done most of them at this point, but it would have been fun to do those things with friends, but they limited it so much that it's just like, okay, you can't really do that. So, the free roam, they kind of hyped it up a little too much than what it actually ended up being. Yeah. So that's what it was.
And we're nitpicking, really nitpicking.
No, yeah, I'm not like these people are like, oh, it's not worth what was it, $80 or whatever?
Yeah. But the thing is, everybody likes to talk on Twitter just to say something.
Yeah, or it was Twitter, it was YouTube, a bunch of people that said that it wasn't worth it. I'm like, look, this is the only Mario Kart game that's going to come out for the system. They're probably going to do some DLC. We didn't think they were going to do that for Mario Kart 8, and lo and behold, they did it anyways. Like 6 years later after it released. So I think we'll be fine with Mario Kart.
Well, I mean, there's nothing that they have to do here to improve it. It's just now, I guess we're a fandom show, everybody. So we went from food to the Marlins, now the Switch. Is that you're right now? It's just every month's going to get a game by them going forth. Bonanza. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit, but they've been able to kind of like really go from there. But yeah, I created a monster. I'm sorry, Candy.
Yeah,
he ain't going to get no sleep on the weekends anymore, but he can thank me later.
So I'm posting up on the wall here, on the
Your
big board
hatred.
in the video. So I posted out a little tweet, just nothing too outlandish. Just what I think about NHL history, which I've looked into. I've done some deep dives into it. I'm just saying, look, any Stanley Cup championship that was won before the 1967 NHL expansion, which was the end of the original six era, which is when between 1943 and 67 there were only six teams in the league because I don't know, there was World War II, and then there was the Spanish flu, and there's a bunch of stuff that happened. Weird old timey stuff happened, and they had like a team just stop.
Maple League,
Yeah.
maple syrup shortage.
Yeah, so something weird would happen. And so I'm just saying anything that happened between that time period should be counted less, just the way the NFL doesn't really recognize NFL championships anymore. It's all about the Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's it. That's the opinion that I had. And I
That
basically
is a controversial take.
I
Yeah.
recalculated what teams would have what championships based on that said opinion, and it rubbed some people the wrong way. For the most part, I think most of the teams that did play in the original six era came out just fine. The Red Wings have four since that era. Montreal has 10. They had more back then as they do now. They're like the Yanks. No matter what era you can kind of point and choose at, they probably have won except for the last 30 or so years. But you have Edmonton and Pittsburgh. Those teams were new teams that
Wow, fuck you, because I had to do the math in my head and realize how old I am.
Yeah.
We're talking about the last era. I'm not. 2009 was not an era; it was a single championship.
Boston won three of their six championships in this time period, and the New York Rangers were awful during the original six era. So nothing really even it doesn't even affect New York because they won theirs in '94 after all that. So, and then Chicago had their dynasty now, and Chicago was technically a feeder team for Detroit. So Chicago got screwed the most in the original six era. Listen about this. In the original six era, there was a rule in the NHL that only French Canadian players could only be drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. So you had
kind of discriminatory, but hey,
you had an entire province that was exclusive to Montreal.
Well, this works in your theory that Canadians are bigots. I'm just saying.
And so that's what. So you're telling me that time period is worth just as much as now, when you had weird rules like that, where the Blackhawks and the Red Wings were owned by the same ownership group, and the Red Wings would steal the players from the Blackhawks so they could prop up their team. I don't know. It all seems a little sketchy to me to have that. So I negated, for the most part, that entire era. It would leave Toronto with no Stanley Cup championships between now and in 1967. They had some before the original six era, like 3 of them or something. So they could claim those, just kind of like, like the Washington Senators have a 1924 World Series championship. So they can feel good about that if they feel like it. But I just needed to set the record straight amongst the NHL. I think there are some people that agreed with me, but I've relegated the Leafs to the Cleveland Browns at this point, and they kind of are. They basically are the Cleveland Browns at this point. They won a bunch of stuff a long time ago during weird old-timey rules era, and now they can't. So they everything that they've done and they've tried just hasn't worked. So don't blame me for not making even the final between 1967 and now. Even the Buffalo Sabres have done that. Okay.
So that brings in a good question I'm going to ask you when it comes to fandoms. And it's about, as time goes on, we're in 2025, guys, and we're basically 7 months into 2025. 2026 is right there around the corner. New year, right? How much credence can we give to sports teams when we're talking about not 1 decade, hell, I won't even say 2 decades, but once we're hitting 3, 4 decades, because the longer it goes on, the more history kind of pops in, right? Or how historic it can be. What does it even matter if you're like champions? I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
At some point, this is terrible, but this is going to mess with you. But here's the reality 2025, right? At some point, that Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich, Spurs era teams, not counting 2014, right? When they got into those early 2000s, bringing in their dynasties, when we're in 2045, and look, they are not on track to do anything. What does it matter about winning those little congested areas? Another example for you the Green Bay Packers
Hmm.
and how much love is by their head coach, who right now his brain can't, come help me over here. Help me, say his name.
Oh, he was on one of the handsome ones.
No, not Mike LaFleur. Not Mike LaFleur. I'm
Oh,
talking about
okay.
the one where they won those NFL championships.
Oh, Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi, who I
Yeah.
met Pat Pepler, who was on those teams. You see, I remember Pat, but it took me for. I know you forgot Lombardi. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. Is that who cares if you won so much of it? The Raiders, another example. At this point, it becomes a very "what have you done for me lately" kind of
Yeah.
vibe.
Some people don't even know who John Madden really is. They just think
Yeah,
it's a sports video game name.
yeah. Or when you get into like the 76ers, they won one, right? With
Every
Dr.
year,
J.
the 72 Dolphins become less and less
There you go.
less shiny to me.
Well, it's not just the 72 Dolphins, it's those two titles, World Series, Super Bowls, NFL championships that you won in that span. Was what, two within the span of
They
four or
won two
five?
Super Bowls, two in a row.
Yeah. Oh, two in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Does it even matter
Team
anymore on
that
a
it
longevity?
loses its aura over the course of time. That's
Can't even
why.
say aura. You can have aura if you're even competitive. A lot of the teams that we talked about here get the fall off. The Spurs haven't been competitive in like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like in there, past like a first round thing. It's going to happen to your Patriots. That's going to be your most recent. The Warriors, maybe, like I always feel like as long as like the core guys are there for another couple of years, they're not as far removed. But the downfall in basketball can be real bad, as we've seen with the Spurs.
Yeah.
But your
The
Patriots,
Pistons.
who, well, the Pistons only got one.
Yeah, they got one, but they had like a nice era of
I,
guys.
I, I think, but if I'm talking about era, I need at least two.
Okay,
Why
all
I
right.
wish I had
So,
Andrew. Because
uh,
you know what I mean by it. You know what
yeah.
I mean by era.
I mean, I
Like
have
because the thing
false
is,
eras that people try and like the Braves. That was a false era.
yeah, that was a false era. But the narrative for hockey that I'll give a comparison to with my limited knowledge is like the Rangers when Ovi finally, oh not the Rangers, I'm sorry, with Capitals. Ovi finally got one, but
Yeah.
they were always kind of good and then just kind of fell outward. But you don't want to say, hey, always a bridesmaid, never a bride until you finally became a bride. That it doesn't hit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I'm talking about the eras of like multiple titles, two being the minimum.
The
You
Edmonton
know,
Oilers.
well, that's the thing. You want to talk about eras.
1990, long time ago now, right?
Does it matter? Does it matter? And I would say nah. And I come
I
from a
mean, they
franchise
won
that really
five
hasn't
in
won.
like 8 years, so
Yeah, well, 5 and 8 years is great, but different time periods, rules change,
hmm.
better players are more accessible. It's a better draft system. Free agency is a
Yep.
little bit
I
better.
mean,
That's the
the original
consequences.
six era, they barely had any European players. There were definitely no Russian players at that
Yeah.
time period. And I'm pretty sure a lot of like Western Canadians weren't on those teams. So I'm putting it into the context of its era, right?
Mm-hmm.
NBA fans always make the things about like Michael Jordan, like the plumbers and stuff like that. He's playing against plumbers and that stuff. Like those
Yeah.
guys are probably literally plumbers in the NHL.
Well, what's funny? You know what this is actually very comparable to? This entire conversation is comparable to a sport that's officially almost dead because of the fact that their higher ups kind of bit their own face. This is boxing.
Mm.
Everything that you talked about, like the disintegration or the era comparisons, is boxing, hand down. We're talking about welterweight, heavyweight, um, everything else in between, middleweight, such and so forth. The great wrestlers, Marvelous Morgan Hagler to Triple G, right? And then you're talking about your heavyweights and stuff like that with the divisions and the errors of what it was, and then how you can't even come close to it. And then these guys who are being ranked and the current standpoints really ain't up to muster. Yeah, that's kind of what the trend was. Okay, so what does it matter if you were a unified champion? You weren't this part of the era. So what happens, right? Do we disregard that, or do we want to put history books when we talk about other sports and go and say, well, some of the Dolphins, they still had a perfect season, still got two in a row kind of gig, or the Patriots, right? They got like all these appearances, and all this other stuff, but it's going to be what, 5 years, 6 years
Yeah.
since they did anything with it, and that's like dog years. So this was an interesting topic because that's the thing. We were so quick to crown dynasties, and then in a lot of sports, dynasties kind of stop for a second, and now you have an opportunity for hockey, and you have an opportunity to solidify it with the Dodgers if they win again.
Yeah.
I'll call them a legit dynasty. I'll count the Mickey Mouse ring as well, because I always count the Mickey Mouse ring. Because if it was me, I would have counted the Mickey Mouse ring.
Yeah, if he had one in 2020, we would have. Yeah.
Yeah, hands down. Okay. So, like, you have two sports that might be able to bring that, because then we're talking about the bygones of the eras, because the eras are going to change now. Because I hear about football is that when they talk about eras, football is always like it's softer now. It's more quarterback throw. It's more offensive base. Like running games are gone. Blah blah blah. They call about a complaint. Whereas in basketball, in comparison to this year where everybody was just chucking threes, it's the era of the players that they're so great and that they're so around that there's real competition. Because that was the thing. They say Mike had plumbers. Well, also Mike had the refs, and then two, he was always on loaded teams as well. But they always got the pass. But when players, looking at you, Kevin Durant, I love you still, even though I can never have you, went mercenary hunting, something built up for it. And then hockey, you're kind of getting that a little bit because they're drafting so well, from what I've seen and from what you tell me, and they're also loading up on free agency.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I mean, as far as the way that, the NHL, especially with analytics and stuff like that, things are just. Some teams have figured it out, and I think the Panthers have with regards to that. But they just came down to a simple thing with the way that they're constructed. Their team is just that they're spending the money where they need to spend the money, which is at their goalies and at their forwards and their starting forwards on the top two and maybe third line, and then their top pairing defensemen, and then that's it, because that's all they really need. Because everything else you can kind of fill out with a bunch of just guys.
Well, then you're saying something that's interesting to me. Because hockey, I think, has the most bull BS kind of like coaching process. But you're saying is that all that stuff is just fill the need and let the coach do the business.
Yeah, I think if they have a good feel for what the kind of team that they want to put up there, then sure. But as far as what your value positions are, you're not paying 3 years for a fourth liner. You shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
You should be paying 3+ years for your third line guys, and then you should be trying to lock down the guys on your first two lines to like multiple 5+ year deals, right? And that's what the Panthers have done, and people are mad at it because every year it's like, oh man, they lost a bunch of guys to free agency. We lose a bunch of bottom pairing defensemen and fourth line guys, and who do we get to replace those guys? Another guy who's like, man, I'd love to join this team. Yeah, sure. My going rate anyways is $1 million or less based on the fact that I'm a fourth liner. So what do I care if I can't get a multi-year deal? If I can spend 1 year and I can have a chance of winning a championship and then having that. So people are mad about
no income tax.
Yeah, that too.
That's what you get said a lot, but I'm like, okay. But you don't see everybody go to Tampa all the time either.
I mean, there was a chart that I don't think I retweeted it, but it was basically saying that between 2000 and 2010, the Panthers and the Lightning had like the third or fourth worst record in the NHL amongst the 30 NHL teams. Mm-hmm. And the Lightning won a championship during that time period too, which tells you how bad they really were, and nobody was talking about the income thing.
No. Well, to defend the Panthers here, because you so got to, because you feel like everybody wants to move on from hockey. So
just once again, I'm feeling myself in this off season because now I finally have the ability to
Dick
throw
Swagger.
this out there. Yeah, the Dick Swagger one. I guess we can make that my one.
Yeah, I'll count it 10.
And then I finally have that with some actual backing with people that I follow and people who follow me, and my own experience with it. That I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I have enough clout, enough of a resume to be able to make this opinion and throw this out there and just be like, yeah, this is what I think it should be. And the rest of the hockey world can just kind of go fuck itself too.
Well, what the other thing I was going on is that they take into account that two of the guys who are on there were your first round draft picks with what um, Ekblad Bennett.
I mean, we only really have two guys that, well, three or so guys that we've actually drafted. The
But
rest,
that's what I'm saying, though.
the rest are waiver wire picks or trades, and some free agents.
But consider the fact, though, that those still hit,
Yeah.
where there are other players who it did not hit. Now, it's not like basketball where there's more fails or failures in the first round picks because, hockey has it more from what I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, with basketball, it's just you have to hit. You have to hit because if you don't hit, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be Charlotte Hornets drafting the wrong guys coming in there. But and the thing is, what I've loved about what the Panthers have done is that aside from making me want to watch more, not because they've won and getting there, I've been watching them for like 5-6 years more religiously or trying to, it's the fact that like they're putting on entertaining games, but they're getting players that you can also get behind. That's what I think hockey works well on by having like that kind of. It's kind of like being in a faction.
It's why right? When you watch Shoresy, you can kind of get like, man, the Panthers feel like a team Shoresy would love to play on.
We would absolutely love it.
Yeah,
we would love it.
So that was me angering the hockey world once more. So that was it. Let's see, we're at 48 minutes, Charles. We started late. We can go into the middle section. Yeah, let's do this because we have a fairly short show. Baseball's baseball, right? Fire Aaron Boone. I don't know.
Fire Aaron Boone. My God. The favorite treat about the All-Star game is saying, okay, I've seen Aaron Boone match for 7 innings. I understand now why Yankee fans are so grumpy.
Yeah.
It's true. The Yanks will be okay, but we need to trade for somebody. Comic Man, Jenny Suarez.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks are blowing it up right now. Or I don't know if they're blowing it up, but they're selling because they just traded Josh Naylor to Seattle.
Lucas. Ah, damn it! Really? Well, we didn't really need Naylor, but still.
I mean, first baseman, but so you didn't really need him. You have Goldschmidt, but
well, we have Goldschmidt for 1 year, so it's kind of like, we did kind of need him, but Naylor.
Where were you gonna put him? He's a first baseman or a DH, so.
Well, but that's fine though. You can kind of like we have a plethora of the whole point is get rid of the guys who we put as DHs that we aren't using to other teams on the trade bait, like Ben Rice. Hey, go right because he's been singing on some of it, going from there in comparison. So it's just like that. That's just look, man. I'm just at that point where I'm getting the panic switch, and I'm just like, okay, I want more than what's out there because I'm not terrified of the Blue Jays. There's going to be always two teams that are coming from the AL East, but I just can't live losing to Houston, man. Like, put me on suicide watch.
I mean,
I hate to say it like that.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me tap
that.
Just a quick baseball thing, real quick. I just want to see the standings. I'll just put it up here on the board. Behind. MLB standings. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go to MLB.com. Just have it real quick. Kind of run through a little bit. Yeah, the Blue Jays are still hot. We're just zoom past everybody to take the division lead. The Yanks, you got the Red Sox behind you guys and Tampa also. So you guys are kind of just fighting for that spot there as far as wild cards are concerned. Detroit is also good. The Astros are also good. And then you have a bunch of teams out in the, the 50-win mark, high 50s. Boston, Seattle, New York, Tampa. Texas Rangers are kind of getting their stuff together as well. So they're bringing that back.
Jake DeGrom, if they can get on a second, like him, Kumar Rocker's kid, it's Sean Rocker's kid, and then Jack Leiter. Yeah. There's something that could potentially be special.
Yeah, and then Cleveland's kind of turning it on a little bit lately as well, so you never know. So you got those, and then the National League, the Cubs got pretty good. The Milwaukee Brewers got super hot recently. They just zoomed past everybody with that. The Dodgers have won 60 games. The Mets are about to win 60 games. The Phillies are right behind there, and the then you got the wild card, and the Marlins just beat the team that's leading the final wild card spot with San Diego in their recent series. So they're 6.5 games back. So I actually kind of have to start following if they have a good August. I don't know, man.
I'm usually the one who follows baseball too, because usually when we get to the halfway point on for sports, Francisco just like dies and gives up.
I've been so out of this Marlins season. It's so weird, but it's the Cup.
And I've been watching.
Yeah, you know, your team was in the World Series last year, so that makes sense. But I don't know. I was expecting to check out by this point, and my body, you know, in a way, like it feels like it should be checked out from baseball because I'm like, I won the Stanley Cup. I didn't expect I expect the Marlins to be like 30 games under by this point, and they're not. And I don't know what to do with it, and I don't know if I want to. I may, like, as August rolls, I may just have to just start pivoting because there won't be anything left for this NHL high. Just got a puck with, you know,
kind of when you get to August,
and whatever. So now,
you get 1 week.
Yeah, so we'll see if this is for real with the Marlins or not. And I also think, like, if we keep Sandy, then I'm like, oh, I see. Because Sandy just had his best start of the season recently.
Yeah,
he gave up
that's the problem.
seven innings with 1 run given to the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, that's the problem with pitching sometimes. There's guys who can redeem themselves when they're doing
coming
bad,
off Tommy John. Remember that. Coming off Tommy John. So if he's, you know
I get that.
So I'm just saying, like, if that was a, hey, do you guys think he's fixed himself by this point, or if he just goes on a winning team, he'll be able to become, I don't know, 2008 CC when the Milwaukee Brewers traded for him, because CC was also struggling a little bit that season, and then he went to Milwaukee and just, like, you know, became legendary, and then got contract with the Yanks, and he's gonna go into the Hall of Fame tomorrow with Ichiro. So.
Well, you know, I think we addressed it.
Yeah, when they got selected, I talked about Ichiro, you talked about CC.
Yeah, like, you know, he kept going until he couldn't throw anymore, and I love CC Sabathia, love him, like, because that was the problem post, you know, Core 5 era, and he wasn't post, but he was leading into the post of it, you know, because Jeter was kind of at the end of the game. It's tough to say you love A-Rod, right? You know, you acknowledge the fact that, hey, I have one of the best baseball players on my team, and he is one of the best baseball players in the team. Let A-Rod be in the Hall of Fame. Let Barry Bonds be in the Hall of Fame. Just all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you needed a guy to kind of round you up, and, you know, we didn't. You get Burnett, and Burnett didn't really stay long. He was kind of a scapegoat. He was, and then I like Mark Teixeira, but then the injuries kind of came in where I couldn't say he was that guy who said, hey, I've always wanted to be a Yankee that came to be a Yankee, which they all kind of did. But it was CC who really embodied it, and you know, he was just one of those guys, and that's why I love baseball, and that's why I always kind of watch baseball a lot, to see what other people's are. I'm not talking about like sitting and watching full, because my attention span doesn't allow me anymore these days. I'm talking about, like, I'm checking stats and everything, because the beautiful thing about baseball is that a lot of teams sell. Like, baseball is one of those few sports where everything becomes haywire. They trade, so I can see clips on Twitter or YouTube and say, I want that guy. Yeah. He could be a Yankee. So that's why I'm looking at McMahon. I'm like, Suarez. I'm like, come on, come Zaddy. I would also take, you know, all these other guys like Yuri Perez over the Marlins. Y'all talking about Sandy. I'm looking at him. You know what I mean? I'm like, I could fix him. So that's.
Oh, no, he doesn't need to be fixed.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He could be fixed on his clothing attire. Come get the pinstripes. But that's what I mean, is, like, you know, and that's how I felt about this.
Yeah. All right. So, word from our non-sponsors and people and places, things why we've been enjoying over the last week. So I'm going first, Charles. You know what I'm doing?
I already know.
Donkey Kong
But
Bonanza.
tell him.
Donkey Kong Bonanza for Nintendo Switch 2. First physical cartridge that I've got for the system, and they come in nice little red cartridges, Charles, now, so you can distinctly tell from a Switch 1 cartridge, which are all black. So we got red this time. Donkey Kong Bonanza, $70, so it's not whatever people are saying about overpriced with regards to Mario Kart. Listen, let me just log into this app real quick and see how much time I'm at right now with this game, because it came out on last Thursday.
Yep.
So it's been 1 week, And Charles, I've played about let's see, that's okay. That's 11 right there. That's just going off these numbers right here. 26 hours worth of this game so far.
Have you beaten it?
I have not beaten it, Charles.
Wow.
Thanks for asking. I have not beaten it. I'm probably 2/3 of the way there if I'm going by the map that they do, where you're. So the premise is this: Donkey Kong is on some other island, so it's not DK Island, which is where most of every game has been at so far in the Donkey Kong series, and he's mining for golden bananas, which are just gems, but they're bananas, and he goes out there, and then something happens where this enemy, the Void Company, decides to just drill a hole into the Earth because they're trying to get into the Earth's core.
They're fracking.
Yeah, because apparently if you get to the core, you can make a wish, and your wish will come true. So they're trying to do that, but they need bananas, so they steal a bunch of bananas, and every time someone steals Donkey Kong's bananas, he goes out and whoops some ass. So that's two.
Well, potassium. Bananas have potassium. It's a
Yeah.
mineral, right?
So yeah. So it's Donkey Kong Bonanza. So that's the start of the game, and then they, the intrigue, which I haven't gotten to as far as the story, is that you have Donkey Kong has a partner in this one. Much like all the other games, he's always had, for the most part, a partner. It was usually Diddy Kong, but this time it's Pauline. This time she's young. We don't know why she's young, but my theory is that someone turned her into being young, because I think as far as I'm concerned, this still takes place within the greater timeline of like Mario Odyssey and things like that. Okay? And also that there is a timeline to Donkey Kong, because there have been actual references. Cranky Kong is in the game, Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong are in the game. Those aren't spoilers, they were in the trailers. Rambi's in the game, and there are references to pretty much every Donkey Kong game that's come so far. Even Jungle Beat got a reference. Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah, Jungle Beat, Donkey Kong 64, all three country games on the Super Nintendo. So there's that, and even the original Donkey Kong got a reference too. So I don't know how deep we're gonna get into this. I've been avoiding. I've been avoiding spoilers.
Good.
I've been avoiding.
I did find out one timeline already for Mario.
Okay.
So you better be careful if you figure out the timeline for Donkey Kong, because Nintendo will be at your door.
Yeah. So I'm avoiding spoilers as to like what's ultimately happening at the end of this game. Just because, even though yes, this is a Donkey Kong game, it's not a deep lore, but it's still fun from a Nintendo fan's standpoint.
Deep lore, a small lore doesn't mean it's not a lore that you want to get invested in.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
not everything needs to be Madame Butterfly here, man.
Exactly, and Nintendo usually keeps their stuff simple, aside from like Zelda. Zelda and Fire Emblem are probably the ones where they're like, okay, let's dive into some lore here, or Pokemon.
Nintendo cares about emotion, damn it.
Yeah. But Donkey Kong in this game has these powers where he turns into like a big giant gorilla, more giant than what he is, and then he turns into a zebra, he turns into an ostrich as well. There's one more animal that I'm not going to mention that he also turns into. And the idea is you search for bananas. If you've played Mario Odyssey, Charles, I mentioned this already, that the platformer style is like that, right? Where Mario Odyssey, when it came out, people really loved it because not only was it a really well-crafted game, but it was a bit of a callback to the platformer style games of the N64 era, right? Where it's just like, okay, here's a space, and there's some stuff in there. Go and find the stars or whatever magical MacGuffin that you're supposed to look for. But Mario Odyssey was different, where it was a well-contained space. It wasn't open world, like a bunch of open world games are out there and they're so empty, right? No, they were dense. Nintendo packed a bunch of stuff within a nice, small, semi open area for Mario to explore, and they did the same thing here with Donkey Kong, except Donkey Kong has the benefit of a few things that Mario couldn't, which is Donkey Kong can pretty much climb anything and everything in this game. Okay, which is, I mean, just the way. I would love to just have Donkey Kong be in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom with the way he moves and destroys terrain, because that's the other part of this is that you destroy terrain.
Just put him in the cave, man.
He destroys terrain. You have skill points. You can build up how strong you can get eventually to kind of just make things much smoother. And his controls are really tight. I think he actually controls better than Mario in that sense, just because he's a big hulking gorilla, and you don't have to be as careful with things, and you know that, hey, I can just smash through things and I don't have to be as careful. And
it's on like Donkey Kong. He lifts, man.
Yeah,
strong boy.
And there's the level design. You could play this game in two ways. You don't have to smash stuff. You can play the game the way that they've laid it out. But it's the same thing remember when we played Tears of the Kingdom, and at the beginning we were like, oh man, how are we going to be able to use, these powers, right? The fusion powers and all that stuff. And it's like, man, and you have to be really smart to figure out what to do. And it's like, no, we ended up doing really dumb things to get around certain limitations in areas, right? It's like, let's just stick 10 trees together and just climb up.
We MacGyvered it.
Yeah, exactly. And Donkey Kong's a little bit the same way, where it's like, I could try and figure out how to open that thing, or I could go around it and start smashing the crap out of this back area and then get through as well, right?
It's the ultimate, Chad game, isn't it?
Exactly. It has motion controls if you want. You don't have to do it, but I've been having a little bit fun with that as well. You can beat your chest like a gorilla. I sent you that video, and ultimately, there's some nice music, especially some callbacks to some of the older games. Graphics wise, I don't know. I still think Mario Odyssey aesthetically is better. Right, just from the variety and things like that. The game looks good, and it's a Nintendo-made game, so it's gonna look very decent on its own console, right? Nintendo always showcases. It's probably the first showcase of it, but there's parts of the game where I'm just like, man, we might need a Switch 3. The developer said some of it was on purpose, but I know some of it wasn't. Yeah.
People lie to us when they say that. Oh, I meant to do that. Like, you meant to trip on your foot? Come on.
Yeah, so blast processing on the Genesis. The game still runs in 4K at 60 frames per second throughout most of the experience. Only when you're smashing way too much stuff will it actually slow down.
And that kind of makes sense though, because you're breaking apart pixelation. It's different when you're in a racing game and you're processing background and imagery. Games are hard to make, guys. I don't think really I think those who don't know the substance of how to do don't understand the complications of it, what you want to do versus what is feasible.
Yeah. So as far as the graphics are fine, everything, music is great. I think especially the callbacks that you'll hear, you'll be like, yes indeed. As far as let's see, I'm trying to think of another aspect of the game. For the most part, I think the flow of it, story wise, boss battles wise, boss battles have kind of been easy for me.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's difficult.
Yeah, they're not really that hard, and it might have been just because of the control scheme and what you're doing, that they didn't really want to make it too complicated in comparison to Mario Odyssey. Not that Mario Odyssey's bosses were that hard either. But nothing overly
most Nintendo games minus Zelda are tough. Are not tough. Like Kirby, Forbidden Worlds or Forbidden Lands, not really difficult. Princess Peach, Showtime, not difficult.
Yeah, Nintendo's their platformer boss battles have never really been. They've never really had an overly difficult things aside from none really. I can't even think of any that are really hard. In that sense, I think Sonic ones are better or harder than a lot of Nintendo ones.
Well, because you're running on one ring, man, when you get hit, right?
Yeah. So,
No, we're not even mentioning Sonic
but
Superstar.
Donkey Kong is fine. The boss battles are there for the most part. I think if they could have done with some. There's one boss that actually repeated. I'm just like, oh, okay. They started running out of ideas of what to do here. Um, but yeah, I wholeheartedly do recommend this game if you have a Switch. So Derek's gonna have a lot of fun with it, Charles. I'll tell you that much.
I'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, it's like the gaming that I'm doing. But yes, I'll get it eventually. What's your promo code?
Promo code Harambe.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean this is basically that, except he doesn't get shot at the end, I think. So, yeah, the dynamic between him and Pauline. I mean, she's the only one that has any voice acting, which is different. Not annoyingly, so it's just there. But so far, I haven't gone into a part of the story yet, but where it's like, oh, now I know why she's here. Like, so far, I'm still not there yet, but I've gotten most of the bananas so far, Charles. And I think I will try to get close to 100% on this one because I kind of feel like I can't stop.
And that's how you know you have a good Nintendo game. Yeah. Because that's how we felt when we were in the caverns for Tears of the Kingdom. Well, one day I realized, and God bless me having COVID at that time, right? But one day I realized, like, man, I'm over 100 hours. I gotta just finish this. I gotta just do it. And that's probably what's gonna happen to you, is that you'll realize you're gonna be like Forrest Gump when he's jogging, and he goes like, "I'm pretty tired. I like to go home now," and then you're just gonna stop if you can't get the 100.
Well, I was hoping I could beat it this week, is just because I want to get out of it, not because I'm not enjoying it, but because I know like I'm at 26 hours already. I'm like, man, I need to get this done in the next 4 to 5, and not in the bad way like Mario and Luigi took me through.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's just you just know what devil may come from you, and that's understandable. I guess I'll go and I'll do one instead of two because sometimes we'll take one over.
If I have a second one, I'll think of it.
Yeah, well, because it is not Death Stranding 2 yet. We are nowhere near.
You wait until you finish yours. I'm always like knee deep into the game itself when I do my reviews. That's because I know already.
Well, I know I'm gonna enjoy it. I love it, but I gotta tell the one or two people out there why. I'm 19 hours in. I'm still on like episode 3. I might be on episode 4 now because I had a boss battle and a reveal at the very end, so that usually tells me transition. I've just been delivering stuff. It's kind of great. I'm not really like over it and get burnt out. It's just a time suck. You sit down and it takes you. I'm like, oh God, 2 hours have passed. And the most I get during the work week is 2 hours. And I texted Francisco. I was like, no. We got to do the show tonight because I got to play something besides Death Stranding. I'll do Pokemon. But then when it became a 2-man show instead of 3, I'm like, all right, I get a little bit more focused. So I was like, all right, I'll just put on Mario Kart. But the thing is, like, my Switch needed her love, so this is fine. My non-sponsor, because we're talking about playing the greatest hits, right, is JoJo's, which I had last week, but I don't think I sponsored them. But, I didn't do anything too crazy this week on Thursday. Get me there, some retroing a little bit. But like I said, your boy going to be starting new work soon. Your boy's going to be remote. He's going to save some money because he's not going to have to eat as much. But we have to go to my Fort Pierce stuff. I got my office in Fort Pierce 5 years ago. COVID was kind of starting like that. And in Fort Pierce, they have a lot of soul food. They got some fast food stuff, and they got the fried, food that's coming in there. And I remember going to JoJo's and then ordering her. I was like, yeah, I'll try this chicken sandwich. But then they're like, oh.
Speaking of wings.
Speaking of wings, right? And they're like, oh, you can get wings and then tenders and stuff like that. Charles, did you have fats? Yeah, I had fats like 2 months ago. We're good. We don't even have memory for it. Do you have Pueblo Viejo with Derek? Yeah, we had it like a month ago. It was great. But I've always had a special spot at JoJo's. I don't ever say like something's the best or the greatest because it depends on the palate. But what I've always loved about JoJo's is that they were just so affordable. You guys have seen me have like 4 wings or 6 wings with fries, and it only cost me like $12. And then I always get that big lemonade. Well, my last kiss to JoJo uh, was just getting a 3 tender meal with fries and a large lemonade for like $14. And I knew it was gonna be the last call, so I tipped extra. Tipped extra on her. You know, I got.
Aw.
Yeah, I'm getting. I'm like, all right, like people who work there go from there. Joe's name the establishment, Fort Pierce. But I got my chicken tenders. What did I get my strips? I got them mixed hot chipotle with the fries with buffaloes, and it was just great. It was just fantastic. It was good, and I was ready to put that part of my life behind me because you remember the good foods kind of go from there. Brothers Fried Chicken in New Orleans is the best fried chicken I've ever had in a convenience store, just to put that out there. But in Fort Pierce, man, I was losing money at DoorDash about 2 years ago because I would always order it, and my liver probably wouldn't like it. But between that and fats, they go good on that hot. I'm like, yeah, let me get the hot. I got the lip sweat and everything. Not like Palm Beach Hot Chicken, which I also love too. Also in Fort Pierce, you see the demo of like great foods are out there. That's why I always enjoyed it. I was like 10 minutes away from my office, but I remember I was coming back from court and I called them, and I'm like, okay, because I'll go pick it up, and I got it. And then Derek wouldn't go pop out to get his stuff, so I had it, and it was just great. And it's JoJo's, so I might be outdating myself a little bit, but to quote, you know, Casey and JoJo, the R&B duo, I'm going crazy, crazy, crazy just thinking about you lately, because I'm gonna be going crazy without it as I get like healthier and save more money. But yeah, JoJo's. It was a fun last hurrah. You are my non-sponsor for this week. If you guys are just out there, try it. Try it. It's a good establishment. They finally opened the inside part. Usually we just go and pick it up and have it be like under construction for a bit. So if that fitting, I got to see JoJo's at its peak form, and it's just been a fun ride. I can only imagine what next week's goodbye is going to be because it's got to be something work related, right? I don't know. Think about it. I'm not going to name my job, but for right now, we always think about our bellies, right? Because you always got to eat. So JoJo's promo code crazy.
Okay. All right. So, I can't think of a second one right now that really comes to mind because I've just been so consumed with Donkey Kong. It's the only thing that's been on my mind for quite a while.
Bananas.
Yeah, bananas. So we'll just move along here. I got nothing about basketball or football, whatever training camps. I don't.
Well, I got one on football.
Yeah,
I got one on football that kind of talk about.
And you saw Superman again this weekend.
It was so good. It's so good, and I still think that Lex Luthor was kind of like a crybaby that I didn't like, but it's just such a good movie. Go see it, man. Go out, take the kids, just enjoy it. But football, really quickly coming into it, the Bills are on Hard Knocks, and now there's a rumor that the ESPN's trying to buy the NFL Network. Get the red zone and stuff like that. And my whole
basically
thought process,
the NFL Network at this point, but
yeah, pretty much. And my whole thought process is like, why you could have done better trying to get licensing.
They have ESPN too for that.
For more, yeah, you could have gotten more and make your own offshoot of it instead of spending money because it's the mouse's money. But you remember, Disney is not a monopoly for whatever reason in consideration, so they have to just put their assets and divisions and different things for the portfolios. But it's kind of like out of all the sports that I've kind of been like dwindling away from, I feel like football is leaving me. And it's not because of the fact that my team is awful. I've been supportive on 2 back-to-back 2-14 seasons. It's just that one, I can't see my own damn team, right? You don't give them primetime games. 2, the games that I can watch of other teams are fine, but I don't want to fully watch like full things because it's too long and in person is not great. And then you broadcasted it to be presented as mainly just for fantasy football, and your analysis is not legitimate, it feels like. And now it's just because people rambling. And seeing that, and here, I don't know if it's proper or not, if it's going to happen, if it's in rumor mill, but increases because really, what is zone 4? You're seeing touchdowns. What is touchdowns, interceptions for return touchdowns, field goals related for? Not really giving you the game. You want to watch the game, you watch the game. It's just kind of show you what your fantasy football stats are. And I've always said it. And it's kind of like, because, fantasy baseball, boring, but understandable but boring. Same thing with basketball, right? And hockey. But you get that right. And look, I was a former addict of fantasy football. And I realized it was all just BS. It was giving me a fake high. You know what gives me a real high? Superman.
Mm.
You know what gives me a real high? Mario Kart. You know what gives me a real high? Death Stranding 2.
Mm.
Instead of go
JoJo's.
touching grass, JoJo's. Instead of go touching grass, unless you really want to, go play some excellent video games. But that's the only commentary. And then the Bills are on Hard Knocks. I'm like, okay, like I don't care about Hard Knocks.
Nah.
You know, they don't get the good juicy stuff anyway.
Okay. Let's see, 9:34. You just want to do the cage?
But
Because something happened, so we
some big stuff happened. That's
Yeah.
why I exit out of Mario Kart,
Yeah.
and we're gonna talk about that, and then we're not really gonna go for the promotions because it's fine. They got some other stuff. Because next week's SummerSlam, so next week is the SummerSlam preview, and
yes.
Charles's dilemma. Let me tell you what Charles's dilemma is. May I? About SummerSlam and everything, and then we'll lead to the cage because this will have time for 5 minutes.
Let's go.
The Yankees are playing the Marlins Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh,
My
yeah.
last day is Friday, so I'm not going to go straight up afterwards because I'm probably going to go do something with Derek in some capacity. But then SummerSlam is a 2-night event that's on like Saturday and Sunday, and for the cost of $7 a month, I could just watch on my Peacock and just eat and drink and relax and be merry. In comparison to paying probably $100+ with fees and everything to drive to Miami and then have to hinge my sanity because it would have been my birthday gift, right, to myself, but hinge my sanity to seeing if my team can win or not, which is nothing worse than buying game because I love the sport, but you want to go see your team win. I have seen the Yankees lose enough every time I go. I've seen them win, and that high, there's no guarantee. And if I was to do it, could do it Friday. I'm gonna leave early. I don't need to stay there till 5, right? But leave at 1. But then I gotta go to Miami, and you'll be stuck in that traffic. Every time I try to go to a sporting event, I'm always late, no matter how
Let's
early.
see. I haven't been to. You know how checked out I am of this season. I haven't been.
I know, but take a look. So
I
now
have
that's why
not
we
been
call Charles
to.
Dilemma.
I haven't been to the Marlins home game this year. I went to Seattle before I actually went to a Marlins home game.
And I always tried to make sure to see the Yankees.
Let's see, August 1st at 7, and then August 2nd at 4, and then at 1:40 on a Sunday. So those are the times. So at least you wouldn't have to spend all night in Miami if that wasn't the goal. But
I wouldn't, but then I would have to kind of like leave and drive as quickly as I can to go see SummerSlam Part 1, which is actually building up to be a decent card after I spent this money. What if my team wins or loses, right? But then comes the Sunday issue is that, yeah, I can do the matinee and then drive to go watch it, but I don't know if I have to be in Tampa the first week of the new job because my new job's August 4th. So if I got to do it, if I got to report, I'm not moving to Tampa, guys. But if I have to report there to where the locale is, I want to get the hotel on Sunday because I'm an animal. I can do anything. Y'all don't know me. I'm a feral beast, damn it. But I'm getting too old to wake up at 3 a.m. to drive to get there at like 8:30. I'll do it, but man, it can be rough. So I don't know if I'm going to be watching on my phone or on like the computer SummerSlam at a hotel in Tampa. So that's Charles's dilemma, and we're going to find that out. That's the cliffhanger for next week because I should get confirmation there. So welcome everybody, your weekly Truplex of Cage with Charles. Full disclaimer: wrestling is not fake. It's scripted fight. It's a song and dance. It's ballet. It's poetry in motion. Men and women being the holy hell of each other. Chasing championships, establishing legacies for my benefit. Right? Sometimes they just want to beat some people's ass. Right? 12. They want to beat some people's ass. 13. Sometimes you have touch points and connections. I can give you state of review on AEW and WWE, even though we talked about it a little bit. But, it's later. I don't want to talk about a long show, but I want to hit something that's controversial where I have been kind of a menace on Twitter. But Hulk Hogan died.
yes.
Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, rest in peace, right? I'm not that cool of a person. He's not my favorite person, obviously. But, Mr. Red and Yellow, Hulkamania, the Hulkster, Hollywood Hogan, started out, doing some other stuff. I think AWA, going from there, went to WWF, or I think it was originally WWF, and then when Vince purchased from Dad with the WWF, became that icon. Y'all guys already know about it. Going from there, left, went to WCW, rebranded a little bit a couple years later as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, brought to the NWO. I have NWO shirts, man. Like, I can't talk about it. He was never my favorite, but, it was just too sweet. I do a lot of stuff. You see the NWO on the belt in the background of my little avatar guy. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff with it. Um, he went back to WWE, won a title again as undisputed champion. Then kind of faded out, went to TNA, then comes back, had a lot of controversy, had his final appearance at the Raw on Netflix, and he was booed out. Why? Because Hulk Hogan was a racist, right? And he died, had a heart attack, 71. And I kind of don't know how I feel about it. It feels surreal. And the reason why it feels surreal is like, I need you guys to understand something. One, I'm used to, first off, a lot of wrestlers are like dying early, tends to kind of happen, right? Owen, Eddie, fortunately Benoit, may he burn now. On top of some other guys as well. Test, for example, they kind of go early in their sense. When I say early, some of these wrestlers go like the 30, 50, 40, 50s. Heart issues, suicide, stuff of that nature. But it's tough with Hogan because you have to kind of pick a side a little bit as a human being. And I'm not saying positive things about his death. It's so weird. I don't say passing or pass away because you pass the test. You pass someone on the road, you die. But that's George Carlin. I mean, that's semantics. Andrew would entertain that, I think, a little bit. But it's weird because I remember seeing this guy at 7. I believe I had a toy of Hogan. You had to, right? You had to. I had like 7 or 8. And it all kind of like comes in, and you're like, what in the world has just kind of happened? And it is telling you what doing something can do as a human being to really ruin what you had an affinity for the guy. And listen, Hulk Hogan to me was not a great wrestler. He was not a great worker. He knew how to move merch and work with a character. I can't list you all the matches in the world I would say suggest to watch, but his best time was probably when he was initially hyping up in WWF. Like, yeah, go ahead and watch him versus Andre the Giant WrestleMania 3. Yeah, go ahead and watch him versus the Ultimate Warrior. And I don't care about the Ultimate Warrior. I don't like the Ultimate Warrior at all. I don't understand why you have a Warrior Foundation that WWE sponsors when that man was very, discriminatory and bigot towards, anybody from the LGBTQ community. Not a fan of anybody who's against that portion of people. And that's what Warrior was. I have no love for the Ultimate Warrior, but whatever. But you have to kind of figure out the sides of it and what you're picking. But like, there's matches that come in like Rock and Hogan, at WrestleMania 17, I believe that was good. But like, it's weird how you go with talents because wrestling, you just latch on to people that you like because there's something appeal to it. Other times where Hogan, kind of like did the Hulkster coming up to it that you appreciated, right? He was like, okay, he's feeling the vibe, say your prayers, get your vibe, and go from there. And then it was Hollywood Hogan, which was my favorite version of him. It was great because the NWO. If you ain't NWO, you're nobody. When you're in NWO, you're just for life, and it's just too sweet. I got the shirts, man, stuff like that, but it was a faction. It wasn't just a Hogan thing. It was Nash. It was Hall. I thought the NWO got too big onto it, but my main core 4 guys I enjoyed from it was those 3 aforementioned, and I thoroughly love Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. You know this because he's the only guy who switched to the NWO that I thought really had a successful playoff out of it. I did not care for his WWE return run. The match with Rock was fun and solid. That's because you had the entire crowd losing their minds because crowds can make a match. And as you get older, I think you become more educated, different styles that are available to you. But the guy also played a lot of politics into it, like the rumor mill, which is factual, but whatever, was him costing Jessica Bodies Ventura a job because he was talking about unionization. And then Hogan never wanted to put dudes over. There's a story about not The Rock, I'm sorry, The Undertaker, where when they were wrestling at, was it, what, Tuesday in Texas was either the match or there was a match beforehand where Taker beat him for the WWF title. And, Undertaker's thing's a tombstone pile driver. So, drops the head, but Taker was a safe worker. And then Hogan's like, oh, my neck, brother, my neck. It's like memes out of it. But I'm viewing this as like how to approach this as appreciative for the wrestler to an individual so people could understand the controversy. Because, we're going to get a little bit social here for a second, right? And talk about the social issue. So I know Hogan as wrestler. I was literally just talking to my buddy about this 2 weeks ago because, Tony and I, we talk about wrestling all the time. Hogan was not, to me, a top 5 ring worker. Guy's not even in my 50 if I really had to sit down and think on it, right? But as a character, promo work, he's a face, right? He's a face of a company. in that sense. He was able to kind of pull it off on. He was able to make something cooler than what it was. Now, remember, because it does matter, you can have recency bias, but you have to have some reality here. Is that when I got into wrestling and Hogan was around, I was all of 6 or 7 years old, my guy, right? So what that means is that my introduction to Hogan was really Hollywood Hogan, more Voodoo Chaba, Jimi Hendrix is playing, and that stuff was cool, man. That was fire, popping into it. And then I thought the red and yellow was kind of lame because I was at that age where you say that when I went back into it, watching the vault or anything, I can see how people get hyped up. And look, I've sent you promos from like, look how ridiculous this is. But there's a certain appeal, and the whole say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and do all this other stuff wasn't like my cup of tea. But I can understand how the matches at that time, because wrestling in the '80s was very limited of what you can do. So for Hogan as a contributor to the business, the person, this is going to be so inflammatory. The person he was most contributory towards or providing most contribution towards, was to himself in the business. When I put dudes over, didn't want to put over Brett, didn't want to put over Sean. And look, this is all hearsay and conjecture. But guess what, guys? I'm going to tell you something. As a non-lawyer, there's always some truth to hearsay and conjecture. That's real life talk right there for you. That's real life right there. But he had his ups in it that even me, you got me to even like him a little bit. But then later on in life, today was like the 10-year anniversary too. Hulk Hogan was a racist, right? And I can't support that. And the thing is, what's been kind of divisive, because the problem is I can't control what's on my timeline, even though Elon Musk says I can. But the issue with Hogan was his daughter was dating a black man at that time, and then Hogan was throwing them racial slurs in there and making statements of like, oh, well, you're going to date a black guy. And I'm saying it politely, not using the racial slurs, the hard ERs that he was going on, at least let there be rich. And it's the same thing, how messed up people can be when I hear them talk about Chris Benoit, where they go to say, well, I know he killed his wife and his kids, but he was a damn good wrestler. Look, I know Chris Benoit was an excellent wrestler, but fuck him. You know what I mean? 15, I guess is my number. And the same thing with Hogan, where he wasn't even like apologetic towards what he has said, to still getting money on a Legends contract to the WWE, which employs black men and women or anybody else of color, going from there. And so I'm looking on the Twitter, and guys, you don't understand. I was so busy today.
Yeah.
With all the work I had to do, and then that dropped.
Yeah.
I was multitasking in the highest fashion, because it's still surreal to me. It was making me laugh because someone was going, man, I can't believe it. He actually put over the Grim Reaper, because putting over means putting somebody over. And the other thing that cracked me was like, he asked to be cremated because he couldn't allow himself to be buried. Not buried like burial, but buried like, flying on your back in wrestling terms. And some people were saying, well, that's not right. You're mocking someone who's I'm like, well, one, freedom of speech. And then two, for anybody who is a person of color, black, Hispanic, everything else out there, yeah, I would have a feeling about it too, because, you had a white influential celebrity purveying that this acceptable behavior was okay. And that's how you impede progress. That's how and wrestling, I said this before, wrestling has the same kind of outreach that football can have, that basketball can have, that American Idol can have. You have a quandary of people out there. It was, we're going to get salacious. I'm so sorry, Francisco, who canceled on this, but Matt and Trey.
I already did the thing with Canada and hockey, so that's
well,
my
here's
end,
the whole
use
thing.
your wrestling end, yeah.
It's almost like the same appeal that The Apprentice had, and look who became the president, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, it can connect the people. So if that's the demonstration, and we're just doing the aw shucks thing, I don't know what we're doing here as society. And then for the people who are, not like white people who say that's wrong, they're going to crack jokes on this because they also do not find it acceptable to say those very terrible things. Because, yeah, sure, you can get me on the idea that some people make mistakes and say those things. But we're not talking about like some weird random white kid rapping, E40, right? Or Too Short, or Juvenile, or, Jay-Z, right? And, he's like, hey, it's written out, I'm going to say it like I say it. Okay, sure, whatever, man. I'm not supporting that either, but I'm just, giving the example. Mm-hmm. In comparison, and I sent the audio to you guys because, Twitter is nasty.
Yeah.
And it's really bad. And so that's the thing where I bring it up, because when you talk about legacies in any sport, people are trying to tell me that, oh, a man just died and all this other stuff, and they're putting qualifiers on what's acceptable more. But when Aaron Hernandez killed himself, right, we're just like, oh boy, he just killed all those people. No, he's like, he knows how to catch them all, right? But you're gonna get other athletes, you're gonna get other celebrities. Maybe you get politicians if we release some lists about being on an island,
Mm.
whether or not you know, believe it or not. I don't really care. I'm just throwing nonsense out there. So you have to question those legacies. But then the other thing that cracked me up is bar attendees, looking at the door and security guards, knowing that Hulk Hogan died and Ric Flair's at the door. I was like, oh boy, because Rick loved him in one way or another.
Yeah, I have his tweet or whatever. You know,
Yeah, and Rick's just
up right
surviving
now.
it all, man. He's like the Keith Richards of wrestling. He's cancer free. Good for him. Jr. He's cancer free too. But love you, Jr. So it's weird seeing the legacies of it and what it means. But like, what I'm telling people is that not we shouldn't celebrate death, but when somebody had such reach, the guy was propelling crappy real American beer and then ripping his shirt off, saying Trumpomania going wild. I'm not talking about him voting for who he voted for. Now I'm missing the point if you really think I'm making it into a political rant. What I'm talking about is the reach that a celebrity or a person could have because of status, where we say it's passable and we don't hold them really accountable. And then it brings around other people who have that same bad personality. And I've heard people say, well, people get soft in doing this. I'm like, it's not soft. Let me just find, a slur that you don't like, or harsh words, or offensive behavior. So it's very tough to kind of gauge from it. But then this is the one thing. This is how it all connects to wrestling.
Mm.
It's prepping me for something that I had not mentally prepped for, because this is how I'm reacting to what Hogan is. And what am I doing? I'm approaching a human being and I'm saying, hey, I understand what he did for wrestling, but it's not cool what he's doing here. And I'm doing it pretty respectfully, right? It is preparing me for when Vincent Kennedy McMahon dies,
Mm.
and the pure animal I am going to be when he goes. Because whether or not you believe or care for the Janelle Grant um, allegations in the lawsuit, Vince was doing some shit.
Mm.
16. And also, I don't even have to tell you about the immoral stuff. Vince McMahon continued the Over the Edge pay per view after Owen Hart died literally on pay per view.
Mm.
And they were trying to pull off the whole concept of, oh, we have a show to kind of bring on and go from there. It reminds me of when DeMar Hamlin got knocked out, and they
Mm.
continued the match too, and the guys don't want to, because that's the whole thing about like corporate and business influence, and the masses for people who can't understand what's grander on scale. Because the thing, we don't ever want to be more than we should be. We want to settle in the skin as opposed to anything else, right? We feel goosebumps on us and we say something's wrong and we traumatize ourselves,
Mm.
but we backpack it and we just lock it away. That's what Vince was doing to the viewers. Because I watched that pay per view legally. Because back in the day when you had cable kids, you know how to scramble it, and I couldn't tell fully. And then they announced it later on in the dies. And with DeMar Hamlin, the big old debate, and we're like, just cancel this game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we don't want to. And they were doing the same thing in the NFL. So you know what? F you NFL, right? Not even cursing. You can't see me with your finger. When there was the COVID stuff and everybody got contaminated and they just got or contracted it and they just kind of like test positive and they kept pushing it to random D's the week to have football and where the other players safety had to go from there. It's that kind of like that greed in lying that is for the benefit of the viewer, which it's not. We get it. A guy just died. I like that guy that
Yeah.
just died. I'm not going to be able to take away for the fact that a guy just died by you putting on like a bra and panties match that you used to do, Vincent McMahon. Oh, yeah. You see what I'm talking about there? And then, like if Jamar Hamlin died, I'm be like, wow, that's crappy. I just watched this game and this guy just died here. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I felt like with Hogan. I'm like, I didn't feel one way or another. It was just it was surreal. And maybe I'm just processing it. But it tells me when Vince, people are bad on him on Twitter now.
Mm-hmm.
When it's Vince's day,
Oh,
man, I'm gonna wear my finest attire because I have so much beef I could bring with that man. Not just a wrestling booking itself, but not exactly your favorite human being. That comes from it when you're making certain consents. But that was this week for the cage because it's super controversial because you're talking about dudes who have been around, that have had impact, that have influenced people who are my age, who are much older than me, and maybe might be on the young side. And the irony, Francisco, is because everybody kind of knew he was a racist, that he didn't do his walk up candor asking forgiveness or understanding or anything like that. That Vince at that time just didn't care because Vince always cared about the money. So he
Mm-hmm.
probably disregarded everybody else who felt offended by those slurs. And then now they come back because Netflix, and Netflix just wants to get sponsor stuff, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
TKA, which owns it, just wants to make money, and they're going to show real American beer because he was voting for everybody's favorite president, right? And then he gets booed the hell out of California, and that's the
Yep.
last appearance of Hulk Hogan's thing. So there's a
Good
moral
lord.
to the story, kids. And this goes to wrestling too, in life. What you do in the dark, it comes to light. You're gonna see who's be putting spotlights on you and make you sweat.
Mm.
And that's all I'm gonna give you this week for the cage.
Okay. Well, that was an interesting note to end on, and I guess well, I'm gonna get back to Donkey Kong, and you're gonna get back to Death Stranding. So that's it for us, guys. You take care.
Good night. Take care.